everyone. Welcome to the Small Yes Stories, Songs, and Small Steps of Faith in Your Everyday Life. I'm Rachael, and I'm so excited because my good friend Tiana is going to be interviewing me today. You guys get to know a little bit about me after I've interviewed a couple people as well. So, yeah.
All right. So we're going to start with... The first question is what's it called?
The music corner.
We're going to start with the music corner. So, Rachael, to go along with this, what was the first song that you realized that you could sing to? Like, what was the first song kind of that you mastered as a musician? What was the first song you mastered?
For me, Rachael McVey. LOL. I feel like the first song that I ever mastered, which is mastered is a strong word, because I think there's always growth within it, but I don't know what I'm saying, to be honest with you. But okay, I think the first song I ever fully felt like I mastered was When We Were Young by Adele, which growing up, I got a lot of comparisons to Adele. I would say a lot of that came from just stuff, the way my voice sounded, a lot of the low textures, and then the big belt. That was just the person that I was compared to the most. So I would always get songs by her, and so when I sang When We Were Young, that was the first song I think I really mastered.
Okay.
So
I love it. All right, so the first question, we're gonna go a little easier right now.
Easier.
So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, just things like what you like to do for fun and activities, where you work, things like that. Just a little background of who Rachael McVey is.
I'm Rachael McVey. I am 22 years old, and I currently reside in Florida, a little town called Vero Beach. I do music. My music stuff is located out of Nashville, and I do a lot of fun things there. I write songs, I do music, I do social media, I do everything. Just a source of creating God's glory through music and testimony, which is my main thing. It's just to help people evangelize, plant the seeds through music, through my own stories and my own testimonies and the stuff that I've walked through, but just bringing that to God and everything of that sort. I would say I work at I work at a summer camp and after school program, which I do love children and I love working with kids. I think they're so fun to work with. They're so cute. They're so adorable. They're always cute and adorable, and I love that job as of right now. And I just have a passion for music, serving. I serve I serve a lot on the worship team at my church. I've served pretty much a lot of Sundays there, and I lead worship. I do all of that because, that's pretty much me. I feel like I like the color pink, and there's a cat.
Okay. And what church do you go to?
I go to a church called Pathway. It is in Vero Beach, and it is such a beautiful, lovely church that has helped me in so many ways. So I love that church.
Very cool. Yeah. Love to hear it all. All right, so to go just a little bit deeper, where is your relationship with God currently, and how has it changed over just the last couple of years? When you first were getting involved, especially in Vero, because you moved here a couple years ago, became full-time here. So just what has your journey looked like with Christ over the transition coming from Philadelphia to Vero?
So a little bit about me. I would say when I lived in Philadelphia, I lived a very different life. I knew Christ, and I accepted Christ when I was 14 years old. We talked about that with Mary's podcast of how that came to be, because we have very similar testimonies when it comes to that. But so I came to Christ at 14, and then I grew closer to the Lord. I would do mission trips, I would do worship team, and then I went to school. I went to college for worship and wanted to serve Him, but I didn't really. But I was so holding on to the chains of my past. I grew up with a lot of hard things going on in my life. So when my two grandparents passed away, who kind of brought my faith journey alive, and they like helped lead me to Christ and helped me lead me to like a good foundation with the Lord. And when I got to that foundation, they just like helped carry me through it and like brought me closer to the Lord. So when they passed away, it was a really hard time, but we moved down to Vero Beach because of that transition and because of the fact that they were such like a important part in our lives. So we decided to move down here to be with other family. My grandfather lives down here. And so, yeah, I feel like that transition was a big one for me because I really like feel like I connected immediately with the church I was at. I tried a couple churches. I tried a couple churches around this area, all beautiful churches. But the moment I stepped into Pathway and like I got to know our worship pastor and all these things, I just knew that that's where I needed to be. Like at that time, I was like, this is exactly where God has me. And I knew that God was calling me to be at Pathway. So I stepped into that role, and then I joined the worship team like right away. And I feel like there's a lot of things that were holding me back because I still like held to the chains of my past and chains that were holding me back and holding me down from stuff that I went through, the walk that I walked, and the hard things that I had to deal with in my life that like led me to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder and all these other things. So I was like letting those chains define me for a while, and then I think an event happened when I was 19 that kind of just changed the fruition of my life. Like I kind of, after that thing happened, I was like, okay, well, Rachel, your life's got to change now. Like stuff's got to go differently. Your walk's got to walk differently. But yeah, so I think that was a big thing. It's just that thing that happened when I was 19. Someone hurt my feelings and did something that was very traumatic. And after that, I believe that was when I had this like realization that I had to turn my life around. And I was still living in that pity and that that sadness for so long. And I was going back to college and I just would like sit in it. So then I realized that I needed to change my livelihood. I was at college and I was doing classes only Tuesday, Thursday in person. And then one of my best friends in the whole entire world literally told me that she's worried about me because I was antisocial. And if you know me, like that's crazy. I was sitting on the couch, doing nothing, watching TV all day, every day, avoiding people's presence. Like I did not want to be around anyone. And my friend, she came to me and she was like, I'm worried about you. Like go outside. Like have you been outside today? And I'm like, no. And she's like, that's concerning. You spend days on end like not leaving the house. Like you need to go somewhere. And that when she kind of talked to me about my depression and what I was feeling, I kind of realized the walk that God had for me. Like God didn't want me at college anymore because I had so much to heal from beyond that, and I was not doing any healing there because I was connecting that place to what I was walking through. So I moved back here, and ever since then I think God has just really shown up and my faith has like brightened up so much. Every day in my life I do everything to walk in his will, walk in his way. My music has gotten much more personal. I'm getting more in touch with my feelings, which slowly, but I'm getting more in touch with my feelings. And I also just would say the Lord just made such a powerful way in my life through all of it with just me slowly healing and taking that time by myself in the season of singleness and working and just like having that relationship with the Lord and relying on him to get me through these seasons. And then I was able to just fully transform my life around after that. So yeah, I think that's that.
I love it. I love the way that you're very open, especially with things, as a lot of people have this image in their head of Christians. They have it so much easier because God's on their side. So as someone who loves the Lord, who walks with the Lord, you have a very deep relationship with him. How do you think it is when it comes to having hardships? having hardships before you were close with God, and now that you do have a firm foundation in him, how do you think when things happen, is it harder to deal with? Do you feel like you're attacked more so since you've gotten closer with Christ? Like, how has that walk been since you've kind of laid everything at his feet and been like, okay, I no longer am living of the world, I choose you? How have you noticed the changes with that?
This is getting kind of deep, but I would say the biggest thing with myself and something that I notice about myself and how I am is that before Christ, it was even worse. I never knew how to express emotions. Like, I was so physically numb to the point where, because I felt like I had no outlet to talk to anyone, because I didn't have that foundation, that solid rock foundation of like going to the Lord and like knowing that you're able to talk to God. Like, that's crazy. That was a crazy concept to me, to think that you were able to just go to someone so like magnificent and just talk to him about your problems. And as a little girl, like, I was going through deep things that most like it's not normal, and it's hard, and you can't really walk through it alone at that age because you don't know how to process those things. So I was so used to just dealing with things on my own, to the point where I would get numb, and then out of nowhere, like, I would burst out into tears, and then I'd like pretend like it wasn't happening, and then I would just go back to being numb again, because it just was this pattern that I like lived my whole life, like pretending like everything was fine when there are things that weren't. But once I came to Christ at 14, I felt immediately like the spiritual warfare, like we talked about last podcast. The spiritual warfare was coming to attack me, because I just knew that God had something special for me, and thing after thing would happen. And because I lived in that habit, and Satan knew I had that habit, I would fall into that habit time and time again of just pretending like things are fine, pretending like I don't have emotions, pretending like my emotions are invalid, pretend like I would fall into that trap over and over again, because I was trying to open my heart to be vulnerable, but it scared me so much. It scared me time and time again, and like I would pray to God about these things, but the Satan just continuously attacked me again and again with that. And it was really a big struggle of mine. And I think as I've gotten closer with God, specifically in the past like 2 years, I would say I'm in the peak of my relationship with the Lord now. And as I've gotten closer and matured in my faith, I've realized I'm not perfect at it. Like, I still struggle with the act of showing my emotions and not, like hiding them and not pretending like my emotions are dumb. But I think I know that if I lay them at his feet and I can cry to God all I want. Like, there's times where I don't cry to people. I have a hard time with that. Like, I don't want to show people my emotions, but I will sit and I'll be in prayer, and like I will cry. And it's like that safe space for me is my time with the Lord. And when I'm praying, when I'm reading my word, when I'm writing music, I feel like that's when I feel the closest to the Lord, when I'm writing songs to God and talking about my relationship with the Lord. Specifically when I'm talking about my relationship with the Lord and like in my songs and everything like that, I know that that's when things are just the most beautiful within the relationship I have with God. So yeah, that's that. I just feel, yeah.
I love how you ended that question, or the answer that you had to that question, because it kind of goes into the next question that I have for you. How did you get into music? How did you get to where you are currently with your music?
So growing up, I was always the girl with the big voice. I always could sing. I always had this big, powerful, booming voice that everyone was like, whoa, what is coming out of that little tiny child? Like, that was always me. And I loved singing. That was always like a safe place for me when things were so hard. I just would sing, and it was my favorite thing to do. It still is my favorite thing to do ever. And I put it into a different outlet when I was growing up. I put it up into musical theater. And I did that, and I was kind of slaying in the musical theater field. I was slaying the boots down. Like, I was doing so good in the musical theater realm. But I realized while I was doing it that that's not where God had me, because of the ties that come with musical theater. A lot of the ties didn't line up with my beliefs and what I wanted to follow. And yeah, at the time I was like, okay, no, that's not where God has me. He has me somewhere in this field, but not in the musical theater field. So one day it was during COVID. I was 16 years old, and I was playing my piano when I was writing songs, because during COVID, that is when I got into songwriting, because I would say this, it was a tough time. In Philadelphia it was a lot different than Florida, Tiana. Like, you were stuck in that house. You were unable to leave. If you left, you would get in a lot of stinking trouble. So you were stuck inside that building, and I just remember being stuck there for months. And so I swapped my schedule around. I would sleep in the it was so dumb. I would sleep in the during the day, and then I would like stay up all night. Like, I would be up from 5 p.m. to like 9 a.m. like every day. That was my sleep schedule. It was like flipped. Everything was flipped around. So I would spend all night just writing music, writing songs, everything like that. And then I think after time and prayer, I was like, this is where God has me. He doesn't have me doing musical theaters and singing jolly old like musical theater songs and doing things in the musical theater field and Broadway and stuff like that. He has me to evangelize through music. And that's when I think that shifted. And now it all happened so quickly. Like, I left my school, such a beautiful like experience. I joined the worship team. I did all those things, and then I just had opportunities present itself, and I was able, because of those opportunities, I was able to just have so much. My life has just expanded, and like it feels so like God is using this gift that He gave me to literally just glorify Him. And that is like the biggest blessing, that I am used as a vessel for Him through music. And because of these opportunities that I was given in the past couple, like in this past, I think it was like past couple months, I don't really remember, my timeline isn't really working that well, but I've been able to songwrite, I've been able to do social media, I've been able to do all these things because and have a set up for success within the music industry because of just God's will and promise. And like he told me that this is what I'm supposed to do. I followed that path and I made that way. So yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. So the last question that I'd like to finish with today, and you kind of touched base on it a little bit, saying like He brought you into a specific type of music that glorifies Him. So how is He using the gift that He has blessed you with to glorify Him? Can you give some examples of how God has used your gift in honor of Him?
I think God has blessed me just with the ability to be so passionate with music, specifically with the emotions that I present while worshiping and while praising Him. That is something that I think is the biggest blessing for me, because I know I'm a passionate human being when it comes to worship and music. And I talked about earlier, like, I have a hard time with emotions, but when I'm singing, those emotions that I don't present in like my talking life show up, because it's such a beautiful thing for me. I think that's my emotional outlet. And I've had so many people, and so many like people in my church, so many people like on the internet just tell me like how my voice has blessed them humbly, like, and helped them through hard times and brought them closer to the Lord. And I just think, because of my relationship with God and how much He has how He has given me a gift to praise Him through music and praise Him through song and do all these beautiful things for Him, because of that, I am able to just live in this like peace for that. And it's genuinely just the biggest blessing in my life that I'm able to do this, because I know it's what He called me to do. And every time I go up and I do lead worship, or I perform, or I sing, or I write another song, or anything of that sort, I'm like, I pray beforehand, and I'm like, I'm doing this for Your glory. This is not for my will. This is not for me. This is not for my benefit, not for my gratification, not for me to get praises or to get glory of any sort, of any kind. Oh, yes, I just know that the Lord has just blessed me so much beyond that, and that everything that I do is just, if I continue to chase after Him and honor Him and like whatever, if I like help one person and bring them a little bit closer to the Lord, that is good enough for me. Like, I don't need, there's a scripture, I read it yesterday, I think it's in Philippians, I think, where he talks about like how Christ humbled himself. Christ didn't like come and become a king. He could have like spawned into a body of someone that's going to be a big old king and lived in a big palace and had a bunch of servants. No, he humbled himself and made himself a man, like a normal man. And that is just such a humbling thing to think about. Like, we don't need all this like fame if we're doing it to honor the Lord, and whatever God brings upon us, that is for his glory. And as long as I am able to use the gift that I know God has given me to bless at least one person and bring someone closer to God, that is the best thing that I could possibly do. And every week at church when I sing and there is some person that comes up to me and says something about how the music has blessed them, I feel just so happy that I was able to bring shepherd them into God's presence, and that they are able to just like have that close relationship with the Lord through the music that was presented.
I love the way that you just said that, because when your heart and your mind is focused on Christ, everything else just falls apart.
Yeah.
And so with that, I can see just from where you were a year ago when I met you versus where you are now, and I think it goes for both of us, just within our walks. It's been so amazing to watch you go through and just kind of continue to lay everything at Christ's feet. It is so beautiful, and the weight that gets lifted off of you, just watching you change, become lighter, become happier, and have that mindset of just knowing like things happen and we're human. We go through hardships. We deal with things that everyone else deals with, friendships, relationships, everything in between. But just the way that you carry yourself when typically it's something that you used to fall apart with and something you used to shut down, you are starting to be more open with your feelings. And I know that's something that you have been working so hard with. But just watching how God has really just transformed you over the last year specifically, especially just because seeing where you were to where you could not understand emotions, you couldn't talk about stuff.
I would joke about it.
It's not even that you would joke about it. It would come up and you would laugh and then be like, so what are we doing? Like, it was just, you mentally just couldn't comprehend it. No. And just watching God work through you to where now, not only are you able to comprehend it, but you're sticking up for yourself. You are putting boundaries in places that they need to go. And in friendships too, even you and I have had to sit down and have a hard conversation about, hey, this really bothers me. And instead of you shutting down and making it less, you're like, I hear you. I'm so sorry. This is my point of view. And just in that sense alone has strength within a friendship, being able to be open and honest and have hard conversations that no one wants to sit down and have.
Oh, like, no.
In all honesty, shout out to the girls that were there that night because we love you guys. But that a year ago, that conversation never would have happened, and the situation needed to have a conversation. And I just love seeing how God has used you, how he has strengthened you, and how you just leaning into him gives you the strength to be able to be more open and understanding of your feelings. So I've noticed that a lot this past year, and I love to see it.
I think there's the big thing that I think people should take away from is that you can be a really nice person, you can be a really kind person, but people pleasing is literally the worst thing that you can do for yourself, because I know a big part of my testimony is because of the stuff that I walked through. I ended up just putting myself last in every scenario. I always put myself last, and I still struggle with it sometimes, like not being a little bit selfish, and you're not supposed to be selfish, but like, you know, have like putting yourself first at times.
I was about to say there's a difference between selfishly doing something and doing something for your health and for you and for your walk with God is not a selfish thing. It is boundaries that God tells us to put in place. And you are learning the difference between being selfish, but also being honoring to God and knowing when to say no and not being as worried about other people.
I think that even got brought up in our conversation that we had, because I don't remember, but I think I said something about like it's hard for me because like I guess there's just an act of me like stepping into a different place in my mind, like and people are so used to me being controlled that it's like such a hard aspect of life. But when you learn that healthy boundaries and having communication is important, and I would sit here and lie and say that I'm perfect at it now. Like, no, I still struggle, specifically in certain situations. I don't like opening my heart up to get hurt because I'm so scared of getting hurt. But I realized that the Lord, like, if you can pray prayers, and like I prayed a prayer, I'm like, God, if this conversation needs to happen, make a will, make a way, make me have it. And it's like, even though that's like something I don't want to do like at all, and I know, but if God like has that in the will for my life, like I have to listen, you know. So I think that's something else I'm learning, is that sometimes conversations need to be had. You need to walk that walk. You need to have the strong boundaries and work through it. So
no, it is 100% true. Communication is huge, and just when you communicate with God first and you put him first and his will over your wants, it does make a difference on your life. And I can definitely see the aspects of your life where you have done that and you have just trusted God wholeheartedly, not knowing the outcome and not knowing if it's going to end a friendship, if it's going to alter the way that our normal is. And I just love to see you go through all of these things and just watching how God is using you in these moments to just build you up and bring you closer to him. So I love that you shared, and I love hearing your story, even though I know a lot of it. Just the way that you speak and just knowing that it's from God and that you are just seeking him and loving him every step of the way is such a beautiful journey. And I love that I get to come along for the ride. So
that's so sweet. Yeah, I love that. You guys are so
So this is introducing the Rachael McVey.
Yeah, so guys, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you guys next time on The Small Yes. Give it a big old heart, thumbs up. Follow me on oh, wow, that was Jibberfish. Follow me on @Rachael McVey Music on every single platform, every single like social media app, whatever, and at The Small Yes. I post episodes every other Wednesday. But yeah, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.